Hey everybody, this is John the Other, obviously, and the following is a reading of an article which has a couple of different possible titles, one being Vigilante Justice is Good, apparently, and another being Gregory Allan Elliot Must Die. If you like either one of those, or if you have another suggestion, put it in the comments below. Here's the article. Gregory Allan Elliot is the Toronto man who in 2012 responded to a request by political activist Stephanie Guthrie for volunteers to produce artwork and posters for her group, Women in Toronto Politics. Elliot volunteered to produce those posters for her. However, the graphic designer found himself in disagreement with Guthrie's plan to have a video game creator fired from his job and blacklisted against future employment due to his authorship of a game which Guthrie found offensive. The game in question featured an image of another feminist, Anita Sarkeesian, and included punching the face of Anita Sarkeesian's digital image. Guthrie took to the internet, tweeting potential employers in Sault Ste. Marie, and contacted a local newspaper about the offending video game developer. Mr. Elliot disagreed with this planned harassment of a young game developer and argued with Guthrie over the efficacy of her plan via Twitter. That argument extended to an ongoing disagreement lasting more than a year. Guthrie charged Mr. Elliot with criminal harassment. It's the first case of its kind in Canada. And during Mr. Elliot's trial for the alleged criminal harassment of Guthrie, she was asked about vigilante violence against another man named Hunter Moore. He had created a revenge porn website which, while not illegal, crossed boundaries of good taste and arguably positive ethics. In the example of Mr. Moore, who had received threats and experienced some real-world violence, Guthrie was asked by lawyer Chris Murphy if she supported actions putting Mr. Moore into physical danger. Her response: "In this specific situation, in light of the actions he took, and in light of the law's inability to deal with it, yes, depending on the case, yes." Link to that National Post article in the low bar. The lawyer, Murphy, later questioned Guthrie about her seeming vigilante actions against video game developer Bendelen Spur, the author of the game featuring in-game violence against feminist Anita Sarkeesian. Murphy said, "I put it to you that you wanted to ruin Bendelen Spur's life." Miss Guthrie replied, "I was simply making people aware." Mr. Murphy, the lawyer, then asked if those she made aware took action that ruined Mr. Spur's life. Guthrie responded, "I would not feel sorry about that. It would be because he had brought it on himself." It would obviously not be because she campaigned to bring vigilante actions against him. Gregory Allan Elliot's lawyer asked Guthrie if the end result was ruin of Mr. Spur. "That's okay with you, yes or no?" "Yes," Miss Guthrie said, apparently not troubled by the admission. Gregory Allan Elliot had been a supporter of Stephanie Guthrie during volunteer work for her beginning in 2012. Where Mr. Elliot ran afoul of this political activist was when he objected to her plan to conspire against the video game developer. Elliot characterized Guthrie's intentions as every bit as vicious as the face punch game. And as a personal observation from me, this appears to be a rather mild critique. A face punch video game featuring a person's image is nothing actually new and is significantly less harmful than an organized campaign to ruin somebody's employment prospects and life. Indeed, in March of 2014, Mr. Elliot's trial for the alleged criminal harassment of Guthrie via Twitter was halted by the judge Brent Nazan after his receipt of a letter alleging a criminal conspiracy by Guthrie and two other complainants against Mr. Elliot. Link to that in the low bar. National Post, Christy Blatford Twitter harassment trial halted by surprise letter. Judge Nazan announced on March 20th that although it was improper to write to a judge, the content of the letter left the Crown and the police no option except to investigate, and he adjourned the case until its next scheduled date. At the time of this commentary that I'm writing, Gregory Allan Elliot's trial for alleged criminal harassment of Stephanie Guthrie is over, and the judge is expected to make his decision on October 6th. Now, for many people, the summary provided above will be nothing new. Canada's National Post has covered this story extensively and critically of Guthrie's conduct. Indeed, many people have already wondered in public why a seasoned political activist's claim that disagreement with her would be entertained by the courts as an example of apparent criminal harassment. That an experienced political activist pursued vigilante justice against a young man and then claimed victimhood for herself based on disagreement with her political vigilantism appears to be a perversion of justice in its concept, and that the case was not thrown out as a frivolous nuisance lawsuit remains a source of amazement. Certainly I'm amazed, although I know I will be accused of naivety for that. In the public submissions, in the case of R. v. Elliot, court documents plainly state that, quote, Mrs. Guthrie confirmed that as far as she was aware, Mr. Elliot never sent her a tweet that was libelous, threatening, or sexual in nature. But waiting for the decision of Judge Brent Nazan, many followers of the precedent-setting trial believe that, of course, Mr. Elliot will be exonerated. That's a possibility, certainly. But given that at no time was this case thrown out based on its seeming frivolity, Mr. Elliot might indeed be on his way to jail. Disagreeing with a feminist in her hot pursuit of mob justice against a face-punch video game developer might now be defined in law as criminal harassment. But the decision of the Canadian court, waiting on the pronouncement of Judge Nazan, doesn't actually matter. Public, verbal, or written opposition to social justice vigilantism is now effectively a criminal act. The possible ratification by the court of this criminal act is only a formality, because Stephanie Guthrie already has her justice. Gregory Allan Elliot's career is finished. He was fired from his job and publicly defamed long before stepping into a Canadian criminal court. Elliot is not a responsible adult opposing social justice vigilantes. No, he's a criminal harasser of a, quote, truly great young woman. Those words being the characterization of Guthrie by Christy Blatchford, one of the critics writing for National Post. Link to that in the low bar. Mr. Elliot must go to jail. Miss Guthrie must not be encumbered by charges of participation in criminal conspiracy, or fraud, or public mischief, or criminal contempt. She is an experienced and accomplished political activist and a feminist, and she is also female, therefore she's a victim. Why in Canada do we even bother ourselves to pursue resolution of grievance by the costly and tedious criminal courts? Social justice is clearly faster, it's more efficient, and it is what people want. That's my whole article. I'm done. That's it. What follows below, what you're about to hear next, is just my unimportant personal rambling. Years ago, commenting on mainstream feminism's opposition to due process, I speculated that the public would come to regard the courts as incapable of redressing criminal grievance. I guessed that feminist innovation to habeas corpus would result in a societal move towards more individual and ad hoc solutions to personal grievance. I guessed that people being adaptable would abandon conventional law and would increasingly seek extra-legal alternatives for dispute resolution, including violent vendetta. Vigilante violence seemed to me then the very bad but probable outcome of removing due process and presumptive innocence from the practice of Western law. And although I predicted vigilante justice as an emerging social norm, I got it almost completely backwards. Seeing feminist innovations to law, such as Elizabeth Sheehy's legalized spousal murder and feminist erasure of due process for the criminally accused, I speculated that the non-feminist, apolitical public would begin to adopt extra-legal and sometimes violent conventions for resolution of grievances. I did not guess that the populist social ethic of social justice, now prominent in centers of higher learning, would be the active source of vigilante practice. Rather, I guessed it would be an exhausted public who lost faith in the rule of law and sought various caveman alternatives. Silly me. But it is now clear in Canada that whether the courts have been sufficiently perverted that verbally opposing vigilante justice will produce a term in jail is not even a relevant question. The non-feminist public doesn't need to lose faith in the rule of law. They will have no opportunity to adopt extra-legal or alternative methods for dispute resolution, because the feminist and social justice mainstream has already done it, not reactively, but proactively. The vigilante social justice mob is already normal, and Stephanie Guthrie is, according to the National Post, a truly great young woman. Acquit yourself accordingly.